This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt. I'm your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what truly drives high-stake decisions. I am so excited to have in our show today, Bryan Murphy, the CEO of Smartling. He's a little bit of a disruptor, a lot of a feather ruffler, but definitely AI first. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Christy. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Me too. Well, I know we were talking a little bit about your plant behind you and that it's real. So I love that. And you're kind of a natural guy, bringing in the good energy. You shared a little bit about, are you a fake plant guy or do you like the live ones?
No, you have to be a real plant guy. Ever since I was a little kid, I've had a garden. And so I've always liked to grow things. And I think maybe I was actually, as we were talking, that kind of like tied it. I'm like, yeah, actually, I like to grow things, whether they're plants or businesses or people, I guess.
No, that's fantastic. I love that about you for sure. So tell us where you're joining us from today.
So I'm joining from Connecticut, a town called Rowayton, which is a little kind of like coastal community right outside of New York City. So we normally get on the train and commute in, but it's a beautiful little town.
Love it. I'll have to visit. So, Bryan, I know Smartling is, I did a little research on you guys. I know you've got a big splash in the market. You got some great clients like Shopify and who's another one I'm thinking of? Lyft. Yes, Lyft. And I'm sure you have several other brands, but those were the two that really stood out to me. Do you want to share a little bit about what you do at Smartling?
Yeah. So we help global brands create multilingual experiences that their customers love, right? That's the bottom line. Whether it's a website or it's marketing communications, a blog, or mobile or web applications, that's what we do. So if you look at our customers around the world, so Tesla is a customer, for example. So if you get into a car in South Korea, the screen's in South Korean, and it's all good. If you get into a vehicle in Japan, same thing. We do work with Apple, Disney, IBM, lots of large global companies that rely on us to provide translation and localization for them that is extremely high quality, is custom and on brand, and that they can trust.
I love that. So I work a lot with Japanese companies. And I don't speak Japanese, obviously. And I was on I'm going to tell myself it was a very embarrassing moment, but we were on a call and they were doing the translation and it was a sales pitch and I was super excited and the stakeholders appeared to be excited. So I really wanted to hear. So I downloaded a translation app on my phone during the meeting and popped it up and was not on mute. And so it played back in English and everyone paused and just started cracking up. And I had so much grace. Everyone was so graceful about it. But the language capability is so important in what we do, and we all sit in various different seats across the world. So that's beautiful that you are able to bring people and businesses together by the language. That's amazing. So is there a favorite client or a favorite solution that you've brought to the world?
I think I'm really excited about our AI translation products, right? So when I was at eBay, I always thought about digital footprint. And to me, driving organic traffic, for example, we're probably got a lot of marketing folks out there, right? So driving organic traffic is super important. It's the lifeblood of any web-based business, right? So digital footprint is how much content do I have available in a country, in a target market, and then the engagement of that, right? So I always worked really hard to build digital footprint that was highly engaging, right? Because that's what drove organic traffic in each country that I was trying to develop. And so that's a big part of what we try and do here at Smartling. So I always kind of think of, I've only been in the localization industry for 3.5 years, but I've been building websites and software companies for the past 20. So I approach it as a customer, right? And so I know what I want as a leader of those types of businesses. And I want large digital footprints that are highly engaging. And so that means high quality, custom localization. So the challenge to what I just described to you is that traditionally it's expensive and it's slow, right? So you've got project managers and you've got translators and you're going back and forth sending spreadsheets of content, way too expensive and slow. So when I saw that, when we were looking at Smartling, that was one of the things that really got me excited about coming into this business when we bought it was here's a company that can automate 99% of that, cut the cost down to a fraction and the turnaround time in half. And to our customers, that's really what matters. And so we've been helping our customers by using these AI translation solutions to do exactly that, which is very cost effectively and at scale, build these digital footprints that's highly engaging with their international customers.
So I'm in recruitment automation and largely focused in the US in this moment. And some of the requests that I'm getting, I wouldn't have thought I would have received those a couple of years ago. Spanish, yes, absolutely, 100%. Haitian Creole kind of surprised me. That one was a zinger. But you're right, because our clients they want it now. They don't understand waiting. They don't understand the complexities. And then you always get to, yes, we want to buy, but we want to implement, but we want it fast. So it looks like you've cracked the code on that and you have the speed, the accuracy, and obviously you care to delight your clients. So
yeah, no, that's right.
I love it.
Your challenge is very, very similar to almost all of our customers, right? Most customers, they ration content because it's expensive and there's a lot of work that goes into it. Once again, with traditional means, we aim to take all that complexity out so that complexity and cost, so that if you want to localize your website in 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 50 languages, it's easy and it's cost effective. So that's really the goal of what we try and do.
What's the most unique language that you've seen requested?
Hmong, probably.
Oh, wow.
We get a lot of that out in California, believe it or not. So
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you seeing, so I'm a little bit of a nerd. I've been in talent for 20 years. And so what you do fascinates me, but are you seeing any trends in what clients are asking for?
I think that from a trend perspective, it's as they realize that they can cost effectively scale with a solution like Smartling, then they kind of take the limits off. They stop rationing content and they get to all the languages that they want to get to. A. B, they start unlocking content. So a great example of that is technical documentation. A lot of our customers are technology companies, and technical documentation is very dense, very glossary centric, right? And so it's very difficult to translate. As you might imagine, developers that are reading that content, they prefer to read it in their native language. So by being able to, once again, create custom translation using AI, integrating translation memory, glossary, style guide, we're able to bring that cost down and time to produce down to a point where they're starting to be able to release that type of content out in the world and really delighting their customers. So I would say that technical documentation is one of the big new unlocks.
Yeah, it's funny. You think about a technical writer, you almost need a translator for the non-technical people, right? And we're all. I'm as technical as we can get, right? So my parents are what we would consider, I guess, boomers, and watching them navigate our technology is a little interesting. And even for me, my kids call me a boomer, but I'm an Xer, and I can play with the best of them. I got an AI cert and I'm curious, which I think is great. But Bryan, I'm curious what you see in the market, because we are in an interesting place where some of the people we work with, depending on where they are in their career, and their education and what they've been exposed to, are either full on AI and technology or they're really fearful of it. So is there a way that you help soften that approach to meet the need of your customers?
I don't know that I soften the need. I think I'm a realist, and I think that the best thing I can do is tell people, give them my best advice and give them straight advice, right? So I'll give you an example. So I have 2 sons, and they've entered or just about to enter the workforce, right? And so for the past couple of years, I've been watching what's happening here, and like in the same way that I used to, coach them in lacrosse or whatever, I'm coaching them in AI. I'm like, you guys have to know this. You have to have this skill set. It's like the same if we're going to date ourselves as fellow Xers, right? Like remember when we're coming out of school, like you had to know how to operate a word processor and a spreadsheet. If you didn't, you were in trouble, right? You were behind. So I think that this is the new skill that these kids need. And fortunately, like I think kids today are more adept to technology than we probably were. But I would say yes. You have to understand that fundamentally the world is changing in a big way. This is, I've been through 3 now major technology shifts. Right, I was there when the internet got started. That changed everything. Right, right.
Yes.
And I think I still have my AOL email address, but
Oh, you're really dating yourself, Bryan.
I know. I know. I know. But that changed everything, right? And then cloud computing came in and mobile, and those were big changes, not as big as the first. But I think that AI, in my opinion, is as big a change, or maybe bigger than even the internet, honestly, because it's going to affect people's careers, their jobs, everything about it. So it's really important that you understand how to use AI in your profession. Period, paragraph.
No, I love that you're passionate about that, because I agree. I think it's an accelerator. Whether you like it or not, you need to understand it. The first time, and look, I think a lot of us have used automation and AI and just didn't realize it. And now it's kind of like overcoming fear. I think, what I've seen and what I know is a lot of people are fearful that their jobs aren't going to be around. And for me, it's like, okay, well, then learn it and understand it, right? So you can stay relevant. And for me, I think it's more around curiosity, just being playful. So I first started writing a poem. My very first ever chatbot GPT was writing a poem, and it was to my boyfriend. I was like, write a poem to my boyfriend. He has green eyes, and all the things. And then I played it, and we were cracking up. It was actually pretty good. And it all came down to prompts, right? And for me, prompts reminds me of back in my days recruiting, like Boolean searches and all the stuff you had to learn. It's just a different methodology to do the same thing faster. So I love that.
That's right. I mean, when you look at what we've been able to do with AI and our linguists, our translators, we've just about tripled their productivity. In other words, they used to, they could produce 2,000 words a day, and now they're, producing, 8, 9, 10, 12,000 words per day using this technology. Wow. The ones that are particularly getting good at it, and those people are becoming really valuable to us because they're becoming AI operators. They're linguistic specialists, right? The folks that don't want to learn that skill are frankly becoming less valuable. It's the same thing as being a software engineer or a copywriter. Those are probably the 3 big professions, or paralegal, right? Those are the big professions where there's a lot of content that they're chewing through, or analysts. The ones that are understanding how to use AI technology to be more productive become quite valuable. The ones that don't become less valuable. It's just as simple as that.
That's wisdom. That's definitely wisdom. So if someone's watching this and they're, regardless where they are in their career, what would be the top 3 things that you'd recommend for them to maybe lean in and learn?
There's a number of courses, right? So Coursera's got some great courses that you can use. MIT's got some free courses. So if you just want to get a background on understanding AI or machine learning, I think that's a good alignment. And then I would recommend just doing, right, and experimenting. So a lot of AI is a really powerful tool, but it's not bulletproof. It hallucinates. And it does some things really well, and it does some things poorly. So it's really important to start using it and getting a feel for what it's able to do well, what it's not able to do well. And it's also a really good idea to, even in Coursera or online, there's a ton of resources available, even around prompt writing, right? So writing a well-structured prompt. I mean, I cheat a lot. Like, it's like easy. I use GPT all day long. And most of the time I'm just like, blah, 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 right? I'm asking it a question, right? It does a pretty good job. But if you're doing professional work, then you need to really understand how to properly structure a prompt. And it matters. We have some prompts that are over 6,000 words long now, right? They're becoming quite sophisticated. They're, in a sense, engineering code onto
you almost need a chatbot GPT for the prompt for chatbot GPT.
Yeah. Well, actually, GPT is You can ask it questions too. It's actually pretty good at understanding itself.
So I learned this yesterday. I was speaking with Stacy Cohen, CEO of Code Communications, and she was sharing a very interesting stat. And she said, and I'm gonna butcher it. It was either 5 or 6 million or billion. I know that's a big difference, but it was up there. And she said that was the Google searches from 2024, and that they're anticipating that it will drop another million or billion, whatever the number was, for next year, because a lot of people are actually searching chatbot GPT. So I'm at the house last night. The kids are here. We're getting ready to go have sushi together. And our daughter pulls up her phone and says, "Oh, I'll just ask chatbot GPT." And then she just starts, I'm like, oh my gosh, Stacey was right. People aren't using Google. They're literally going to chatbot GPT.
It's amazing how fast. I feel like there's this with technology. There's always the inflection point, right? So we've been working with machine learning and neuro machine translation for the past 12 years or so, right? So when we saw Gen AI come out, we like immediately jumped on it. Like immediately saw. I remember I got a cup of coffee. I was playing around when OpenAI came out with GPT, playing around with it on a Saturday or Sunday morning with my coffee. And immediately our leadership team started slacking each other because we all saw the same thing. And we're like, holy smokes, this is going to be a big deal, right? How do we incorporate this into our business? But that was 2.5 years ago or so. And now what's really fascinating is like what I felt in the last 4 months. And this is super interesting. I think I know why this is happening. So literally, and even in the last 2 months, almost all of our customers and prospects are now turning around and very actively and directly saying, "Hey, I need to translate with AI." I'm like, well, yeah, I know you do. But
welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party. But it's like literally been the last 3 months. And I think I know why. And it's because for 2025 planning, I think every CEO in the world has put down a mandate to their teams that in 2025, you will implement AI into your various functions to improve efficiency, engineering, sales and marketing, you name it. And translation is one of those functions, right, within marketing. And they've all turned around and said, we need this now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fundamental shift that's just tipped over in the last, probably 3-4 months.
So I will let you know, Bryan, that you were 100% right, because I have been to probably 20 conferences in the past 2 years. And the number one thing is AI. And the number one thing I hear, speaking to all the CHROs and all the leaders, is the different departments, we've been mandated, just as you said, we have been mandated to do this. We have no idea where to start. And I'm laughing because I'm like, the person that told you that probably didn't have any idea where you were going to start either. So you've got this beautiful group of people trying to figure out, what the heck do we do and where do we do it? And then the fear comes in. Is it compliant? Is it risky? Will IT approve it? There's all these different complexities. Yes. And what I'm finding is the smart ones have made businesses out of it. And then you've got some that, they're doing some of the stuff on the side if their company won't let them do it. Like if they won't let them use chatbot GPT on their company computer, well, they're doing it on their own. So yeah, you hit the head on the nail, because that's exactly what they've been told.
The good news is I know a guy that can help us here.
That's what I was going to say. We got a guy.
I got a guy. So we've been, as I said, for the last 2.5 years, we've been developing this. And so really what we've done is evolve Smartling into being sort of a tools kit that sits on top of large language models. So like we allow our customers to select if they want to use Gemini, if they want to use GPT, if they want to use Azure, if they want to use Vertex, Anthropic. We enable all of that. And then this is a tool set that allows you to safely, right, and within data governance and privacy concerns, because this is a real issue, by the way.
It is.
To meet all your security requirements, with anti-hallucination technology, with automation. So all of basically the building blocks of what you need are the tools in the toolkit that enable our customers to use Gen AI to translate. That's really what we've evolved to become.
So I'm curious what you think about all the new terminology out there that marketing folks, I'm sure, have leaned into. But, it went from AI to AI agents to just the different terminology. And I think I have an opinion about it. I think it's tech people trying to make it digestible for non-tech people. But I'm just curious what you think about all the naming conventions, because I feel like we're entering alphabet soup like we did with DNI. It's DNI, and it was DIMB, and it was,
Yeah.
how many other acronyms are we going to have, or what other things are coming up in this world?
It's really hard because it's new, right? So we're all searching for vocabulary, right? Getting back to the
Right.
communication, like we're all, like when you've got, and it's happening so fast that the technologies, and it was fascinating. I literally just said this. We had this offsite in Puerto Rico with the entire company, and I was sitting there listening to the
offsites in Puerto Rico. Where do I sign up?
This is one of the reasons why you want to work for Smartling.
Yeah, Smartling. Guys, did you hear that, EVP? I'm down.
Yeah, so we do. It's really fun. Then we take 4 days, and the entire company goes to a place like Puerto Rico, and we train and we learn and we get to know each other. So it's a lot of fun. But
that's amazing.
As I was listening to these conversations, it was clear to me that our capabilities, our technology capabilities, were outstripping our ability to clearly communicate them. Right. Okay. And I think that's happening for a lot of companies. That's why you're hearing this conversation. And if you even heard me, I just sort of stumbled over Gen AI, large language models. What are we calling it? Right. Agentic agents. Right. So we're in this hype cycle development phase where we're trying to build vocabulary in which we can succinctly communicate very complex ideas. And so that's part of what's happening.
Exactly. It is. It's like speaking a different language.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to tell myself there's a comedy show that I like. Have you ever heard of Key and Peele?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Do you remember the Obama translator episode?
Yes.
What he said was, right, to me, I live that every day because I work for a tech organization. And so I have to understand to the best of my ability that stuff and then take it and translate it into HR and talent acquisition speak where they get it, right? So this is just a really simple example, but HR and TA folks would say, customize. Can we customize the technology? Yeah, we'll customize it to your process. A tech person hears that, they're like, what? No, that's code, that's development, that's... And I'm like, I know. But to them, that's what that is. So I'm trying to speak in their language. And over here, I know it should say configure, not custom, but you learn it's been such an eye-opener for me to understand the product and then the translation of the product in the midst of learning all of these changes and these new names. And so there's so much media out there and everybody has micro attention spans, right? So it's like, how do you hook them and how do you get them in and how do you make them feel safe? But it's a thing. You're right.
I agonize over language. And how to communicate ideas like this. One of the things I try and do, because you're in your head and you're in your own, ivory tower of technology. And how do I say words and convey ideas that make sense to someone that may not understand it as well? So you do the best you can. And then what I always try and do is to get people that have never seen it before, regular people, marketing people, read it and say, and I ask, do you understand what I just said? Does that resonate with you? And they'll say, yes or no, and then you tweak from there.
Language to me is fascinating. It's the way we communicate, multiple different languages, code, things like that. But, even if you think about the difficulties of just translating, period. So I work with a lot of French Canadians and they're lovely. And the words that they use in English are not always the same meaning in English for us and vice versa. So I'm curious, how does that play out in your technology with those nuances like that?
Well, that's really the localization aspect, right? So, and that nuance is really important to your point. Like if I'm French Canadian, I have different words than English. I have different words than in French, right? In Spanish, there's multiple versions of Spanish. There's Mexican Spanish, there's Spanish, there's Latin Spanish. So it's really important for our customers who are marketing folks, right? That we get that nuance right. Really, that's what they're paying us to do. So there's two things we have to do when we create these really custom or configured engines for our customers, right? Is we build, for most of our customers, we build basically individual or custom models for them that allows them to speak in their brand voice. So Apple and IBM are customers. They are both technology companies, but as you can imagine, they have very different ways they sound very different, right? They have brand voice.
Right.
So we work really hard on building these custom models. So when the translation is made in whatever language, it sounds like that customer in their brand voice has the correct glossary, style guide, terminology, etc. And then on the other side of that, each one of the languages that we understand the cultural nuances of what that word means in French Canadian or French or German or Spanish or whatever it is. And that's really that's the enterprise version of translation that we provide.
I love that. That's great. I mean, it's such a gift to the world to provide communication. It really is. It's a beautiful gift.
It is super. I love it. It's a super interesting business filled with a lot of very interesting global people, as you can imagine, with a lot of global experiences. So I always enjoy talking with my customers, getting to know them. And I think we all do have a passion for communicating, right? Words, but the spoken word, that's like how we communicate. And the spoken or the written word, and being able to translate that into the language of our customer, right, and have them appreciate that and understand it, is the highlight of what we do.
I love that so much. So you've obviously had a very successful career, and I think that there's some things that we can learn from you. But I'm just curious, can you share a time, Bryan, that you failed and what you learned from it? Because I think that's brought you to the leader you are today.
Yeah. I've had lots of failures, it's like...
And that's how I know you're a true leader, because true leaders will be like, which one?
Oh, gosh. A good example is, I was the CEO of a company called Breather, and we were a flexible workspace company. I got brought in to grow that business. We were cranking that business, growing 100+%. It tripled EBITDA, doing all the right things, fundamentally shifted it. And then COVID happened.
That was a big one for everybody. Yeah.
That one hurt. That one took our business, virtually down to about zero in about 90 days. And so we had to pivot from that. We had to divest all of the leases that we had and focus. We had built this great technology. That was what was really valuable. And at that point, my job then was to package up that technology and sell it along with the team that was creating it, so they had a home when this is all said and done. So I don't know what's my lesson. I think that in this business, I've been doing this long enough that you never know what's going to come around the corner. You know what I mean? Whether it's COVID, whether it's AI, something is always going to happen. And so I think that you have to be, you have to understand that, and you have to be willing to pivot and then do the best you can, and then pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on to the next thing. And hopefully have learned a thing or two. Each one of these experiences for me is obviously a learning experience, but painful.
I think you might be a phoenix, just rising from the ashes each time from your learning lessons.
Sometimes I just feel like sometimes you just like walking down the street and you trip on a curb, fall flat in your face, and then you just got to get up and just go like, I hope no one saw that.
A girlfriend of mine told me, she said, my daughter left her windows rolled down during a thunderstorm. She goes, she'll never do that again. And I go, yeah, you're right. Lessons are lessons, right? Like whichever way they come from. So, can you share a time, Bryan? I just want to dive a little bit deeper into you. But did you ever have a moment that shaped you into the leader you are today? Do you have a defining moment that drives you?
So in the beginning of my career, I had co-founded this business with my cousin, actually, and we were partners. We were best friends, like brothers growing up. And it just after 9/11 and as the kind of like the .com market was crashing around since 2001, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. He loved to ride. And that was devastating on two levels. One was obviously clearly personal, but then the other was for the business. He was the CEO. I was the chief operating officer. He was the face of the business, like this incredible, dynamic person. Like you just love him. He's like, Gus was one of the greatest people I'd ever known. And so now all of a sudden this happens, and I have to go in on Monday morning and not only convince my board and investors that it was going to be okay, but my team, and then also strike the balance of the personal, right? And so that was a life-changing moment in a lot of ways, because for lots of reasons, but having to figure out how to strike that balance between compassion and leadership and certitude is really, really tough. But it also gave me conviction afterwards around being very decisive, learning how to compartmentalize my feelings, right? How I feel about something and what do I need to do, right? What do I need to execute against? Because then right around that time, I also had to make the decision to pivot that business from being a .com business to a software company. And so I made that decision almost at the same time. And it's what enabled us to grow that business into a, $2 billion GMV business, but incredibly painful. But I think once again, the lesson that I took away from that was that there are times of crisis when people are looking to you, like you're now the guy. You weren't the guy, but now you're the guy or the gal. And you have to stand up and take charge, right? And make decisions, even if they're really difficult and hard ones. And that's kind of shaped me now, because now I kind of have that gear where I know what needs to happen. I'm not afraid to do it. People may not agree with it, but I know what needs to get done, and I get it done.
Thank you for sharing that. That is so pure and authentic and heartfelt. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And what a beautiful thing that you did in your cousin best friend's honor. Like that's beautiful. I could not imagine. I've been in organizations where we've lost employees and colleagues, some for various reasons. And I've been in organizations that no one ever said anything. No one ever told anybody. I found out one time because I had called the individual because we had a meeting with the CEO, and I found out through his family. So it's kudos to you for handling such a personal thing that impacted you, but also having enough grit to care for your team and carry that on. Like, guys, if you're watching, that's leadership. And I'll cry when we're done with Bryan, but that's leadership. Like, that's it.
It was hard. Gus and I used to sit in the same office. And so we used to make each other laugh. And I still feel like he's sitting in the office with me and trying to make me laugh on this interview.
Well, Gus gave me goosebumps. So you've left a beautiful message in his memory, which is just darling. Well, I have enjoyed this interview and your heart, and curious about those Puerto Rico trips for sure. Like, you taking it back to like the 90s and how we used to treat our people, taking it way back. One more question for you, Bryan, if I might. What's one thing that you do that Bryan Murphy does better than anybody else? And I know I'm asking you to brag, but I really want you to just tell us what it is, because I know you know what it is.
Well, it's what I think it's cheating. I remember when I was in college, I had this epiphany, because like through college, everything that you did was an individual sport, right? Like your assignments, homework, your sport, everything was like kind of like this individual contributor thing. I was sitting in this class and it was about supply chain logistics, and we had to create this Lotus project. I'm like looking around, I have no idea how to do this. And this girl was sitting next to me and she's typing away on her, and she looks really nervous because like we had to do this presentation then. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh my God, I'm terrified. I cannot do presentations. I've got terrible stage fright. And I said, well, that's perfect, because I don't, and you know how to do this project. So we teamed up. We were allowed to team up, and it went great, right? So that was a big learning moment for me. So I think for me, I've got to continue that on, where what I try and do is put together the best team of people that I can. And I think that's probably what I do the best. I like to joke. I don't really do anything. I just find people, put smart people together. And
for Smartling.
For Smartling, exactly.
Guys, he puts smart people together for Smartling, and they go to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Hey, just send that to your recruitment department. You're golden.
Thank you. Yeah, right? That's a good one.
You'll be golden. Well, Bryan, before we end this interview, is there anything else that you'd like to share that I might have missed?
No, I think this has been great. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk with you, Christy. It was a pleasure. And, I love these types of formats. I think it's great for, all kinds of folks to listen in. And sometimes hopefully there's some nuggets in here.
There's definitely some nuggets in here. And I feel very selfish to the audience because this is all for me, guys. I just want to ask smart people questions and learn myself. But Bryan, thank you for sharing your heart and your mission, your vision, and for everything that you do for our community to help us communicate with each other. So from my heart, thank you very much. And guys, go check out Smartling, check out Bryan, and follow and like this podcast for more. See you next time.